Russia steps up attacks on Ukraine, a possible peace plan for Gaza, a shakeup in the New York mayoral race, and more. Welcome to the Raw Naked Truth. I'm your host, Eric Lopkin, and here's the news you need to know. At least 4 people were killed and 8 others wounded, including children, in a mass shooting Sunday morning at a Latter-day Saints church in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. Authorities identified the gunman as 40-year-old Iraq War veteran Thomas Jacob Stanford, who drove a truck into the church doors, opened fire with an assault rifle, and set the building on fire while hundreds of worshipers were inside. Police responded within 30 seconds and fatally shot Stanford less than 5 minutes later. Officials said several improvised explosive devices were also found at the scene, and a bomb squad is investigating. Witnesses reported that the attack began just after a congregational hymn and described people fleeing through back exits as flames spread. Of the 8 wounded, 7 are stable and 1 remains in critical condition. Authorities have not yet confirmed the full number of casualties, as the church building was destroyed by fire and remains under investigation. With a federal funding deadline set for Monday at midnight, President Trump is scheduled to meet today with the top 4 congressional leaders at the White House in a last-minute effort to avoid a government shutdown. The talks bring together House Speaker Mike Johnson, Senate Majority Leader John Thune, and Democratic leaders Hakeem Jeffries and Chuck Schumer. Lawmakers remain divided, with Republicans backing a short-term funding extension and Democrats seeking health care provisions as part of the deal. Both sides have expressed a desire to keep the government open, but no agreement has been reached yet. If no funding measure passes as the clock strikes midnight from Tuesday, September 30th to Wednesday, October 1st, non-essential federal operations will begin shutting down on Wednesday. President Trump said he was close to forging a deal to end the war in Gaza and bring hostages home as he prepared to meet Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu today. "It's looking like we have a deal on Gaza. I think it's a deal that gets the hostages back. It's going to be a deal that ends the war," Trump told reporters on Friday. Trump unveiled a 21-point initiative to end the war during meetings with Arab leaders on the sidelines of the United Nations General Assembly meeting earlier last week. A White House official said the U.S. plan calls for the return of all hostages, living and dead, no further Israeli attacks, and a new dialogue between Israel and Palestinians for peaceful coexistence. Russia attacked Kiev and other cities across Ukraine on Sunday with nearly 600 drones and dozens of missiles, killing at least 4 people in Kiev and injuring dozens more in an hours-long assault. A massive Russian attack on Ukraine lasted for more than 12 hours, President Zelensky said in a statement. "Savage strikes, a deliberate, targeted terror against ordinary cities," the Ukrainian Air Force said. The attack started at 8:30 p.m. on Saturday and continued into Sunday morning. Nearly 600 drones and 48 missiles were launched in the assault, it said in a statement, adding that 5 missiles and 31 drones had evaded air defenses. Ukrainian officials said that more than 70 people were wounded across the country, including 2 rescue workers. They warned that the number of dead and injured was likely to rise as 1,500 rescue workers and police officers were deployed across 11 regions to treat the wounded and search for survivors. Zelensky vowed to respond to the latest strikes as he urged Ukraine's allies to maintain pressure on Russia to agree to an immediate ceasefire. The Supreme Court on Friday agreed to allow the Trump administration to keep frozen billions of dollars in foreign aid that is set to expire next week, the latest turn in a lengthy legal saga over the congressionally appropriated funds. The emergency intervention came at the administration's urging to lift a lower court's ruling ordering it to spend $4 billion in funds approved for aid programs by September 30th, its expiration date. It indefinitely extends the pause on U.S. District Judge Amir Ali's injunction that was put in place earlier this month by Chief Justice John Roberts, who handles emergency appeals from the nation's capital by default, as the High Court considered the appeal. New York City Mayor Eric Adams has dropped out of the mayoral race on Sunday amid escalating pressure to clear the crowded field in a last-ditch attempt to stop socialist Zohran Mamdani's election to City Hall. The bombshell move came after weeks of back and forth over whether Adams would bow out of the race, in which he is polling fourth, far behind frontrunner Mamdani, former Governor Andrew Cuomo, and also Republican nominee Curtis Sliwa. "It's been an honor to be your mayor," Adams said in a video from Gracie Mansion, according to a transcript first obtained by the New York Post. "I am proud to say that we took that victory 4 years ago and turned it into action, making this city better for those who had been failed by government," he said. A one-time gene therapy treatment has shown remarkable success in slowing the progression of Huntington's disease in a preliminary trial, the first treatment to show success against the disease. The experimental treatment, called AMT-130, reduced disease progression in a small test group by 75% over 3 years in patients who received a high dose compared to those on standard care, according to the researchers. "This result changes everything," said UCL professor Ed Wild at University College London, where the work was done. "One of my patients who had to retire due to the disease has even been able to return to work." Huntington's disease occurs when a faulty gene causes toxic proteins to damage brain cells. The disease typically appears in mid-adulthood, causing problems with movement, memory, and mood, and is normally fatal within 20 years. That's the Raw Naked Truth. You can catch every episode of the Raw Naked Truth Daily News Brief, as well as our sister podcast, Carnivore Radio, with news analysis and commentary, and the rest of the Xvadio Podcast Network at xvadio.com, the Apple Podcast app, YouTube, Rumble, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Audible, Amazon Music, and other platforms that respect freedom of speech. We'll see you next time.